All right, welcome back to another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. This is episode 129. I'm riding solo today. Off season, it's kind of tough to get some people on, but that's completely fine. I'm gonna do just everything like we usually do. But before starting anything, let's do our usual routine. So, happy birthday to Chris Anderson, Jim Barnett, and Hall of Famer Ralph Sampson of the Rockets. In baseball, happy birthday to Bill Herman, Satchel Paige, 1986 Mets, Tim Tupfel, and to Nathaniel Lowe, both the Gold Glover and a Silver Slugger. In the NFL, no one I was familiar with, but Chase Claypool was really the only guy I was actually familiar with. So happy birthday to all those guys. Last week we had a more stacked birthday, but that's completely fine. But anyway, today literally all I'm here to talk about is the offseason updates. So I was going to go live on Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, I should say, but a couple of things got in the way. Matt and I went live on Tuesday night. That was right before free agency started. But I think it was right before. It was either right before or right after. I think it was right after free agency started, actually. But nothing really happened. But a ton happened the day after, and a couple days after. But because of that, I just wanted to dive into what exactly my thoughts on every situation are. Since I think we'll start with today's news. The only one is Donovan Mitchell. Or how about this? Today is July 6th. Yesterday was like the first day of what they call the memorandum being lifted. So that's when all these moves could be made official. So a lot of the moves were made official yesterday. Like teams were posting on social media about it. And like a lot of these team extensions are eligible as well. So today's news, Donovan Mitchell was extended for 4 years, I believe $268 million. If anyone in the comment section could correct me on that. But this is a very interesting contract, to say the least. By interesting, I mean they shouldn't have done it. I am probably one of the last Donovan Mitchell defenders, for sure. I will say he did lead his team to 64 wins in 2025, and then this past year, not as good in the regular season as a team level. I thought he was even better on an individual level, though, and then leading his team to the conference finals. It did take 7 games in the first and second round, but still, the fact that he was able to grind that was definitely great leadership from him. And even in the conference finals, I think they got swept. They did get swept, but I don't think that was entirely his fault. It's obviously the star is going to get the blame, absolutely. But at the end of the day, when you average 26 or 27 points on 60% true shooting, there's not much you can do. I guess game one, he was kind of to blame because of the whole, blowing the lead and not really being the guy to slow down the offense. But it was after that. I feel like everything. There was really nothing else he could have done. I feel like he was really the only one showing up. I feel like his teammates were the ones that let him down, if anything. But that all said, so I just want to know a whole spiel as to why I think that Donovan Mitchell was the one that got screwed over, not and it's been his teammates' fault this entire time. That all said, this is not a contract that I would have given him. And that's no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, he's a worldwide talent. I think he's a top 2 shooting guard in the league. Some people would argue top 1, including Chilltown. And I think that he's a top 10 player in the league. He's an extremely great player, and I think that he is easily one of the better number 1 options in the league. People, we've never seen him as the second option, so I don't know how great of a complimentary piece he could be as the number 2 option, but that's irrelevant to this point. With that all said, the next thing we're going to talk about after this is the Jaylen Brown situation. And part of the reason that Jaylen Brown got traded was a big part of the reason, I should say, not even a large part of the reason, was because of the whole contract situation. And the issue is, unless you're like an all-world talent, like one of the 5, I'm not even going to say 5 to 10, you're one of the 5 best players in the league, maybe like 5, 6, or 7 best players in the league. Jokic, Luka, Shea, Giannis, Tatum, losing someone, Wemby, any of those guys, you're going to say, I don't care, write him a blank check. We need him. We need him to say, we'll find a way to build around him. Those are the guys that you absolutely need to pay at all costs. In the new CBA, that has not changed. What has, however, changed in the past couple of years is under the new CBA, it's tougher to build around teams with everything. So the Cavs are currently in a situation where Donovan Mitchell is objectively the best player in the league. I think most not in the league and on his team. Everyone knows that. That's not always going to be the case, though. I think that eventually Evan Mobley is gonna jump him, in my opinion, because Mobley is very young. I think he's 22 or 23 years old. Top 3 defender of the league, in my opinion. I think it's only Wemby and like Gobert and Chet that are up there with him. I think that Mobley's a top 5 defender in the league. And he's pretty solid on offense too. So I think that one day he will be up there as like one of the 10 to 15 best players in the league, and like eventually Mitchell is gonna decline. So you're gonna give Mobley the money too. Is paying both Mobley and Mitchell, is that a recipe for success? I'm not sure if it is. I think that Mobley is a top 20 player in the league. I said last year, heading into last year, I said that I was going to be a top 15 player. He wasn't necessarily that great. So I will say, I think that Donovan Mitchell is absolutely, I think he's a top 10 player. I think Mobley is a top 20 player. I think the two of them, as the best players on the team, could win a championship. Can you win a championship with them, however, being paid 65 to 70% of your salary cap, of the salary? I don't know if that's the case. And the Cavs made the decision today. Listen, this is the best player that we've had since LeBron. He's probably if you want to include Kyrie, probably the second or third best player that we've had of the 21st century. This is a guy we got to hold on to. And I get it. I really do. Some teams don't want to go through the uncomfortable phase of like trading your best player and like going and like being bad, especially a team like the Cavs. The Cavs were bad for forever, really, like since 2011 until 2011 to 2014. 2014 they were a bad team. And then what was it? I think they got Mitch. They started to get better once Colin Sexton started to develop. So around like 2020, 2021. I guess 2021 would be the right year because then they traded for Mitchell in 2023. So they got a little better into. I think they made the playoffs in 2022. The playoffs or the play-in. I think they made the play-in in 2022. So yeah, let's say 2022. There was it was like 4-year stretch. They were bad. They were good for obviously great for when LeBron came back, and then bad again for 4 years. And they've been one of the better teams in the East for the past couple of years because of Donovan Mitchell. But is Donovan Mitchell the guy to get to the next level? Is the Cavs goal championship? I can't tell because a move like this isn't a move that championship teams make. But I do get it because even before LeBron, the Cavs were a historically bad franchise. So I think that I'm in the minority. I think that Kenny Atkinson is still one of the best coaches in the league. I think that a formula of Kenny Atkinson, Donovan Mitchell, and Evan Mobley can win you a championship eventually. But in a stronger East now, we have the Knicks that just won the championship. We have the Raptors, Kawhi Leonard, Scotty Barnes, 2 top 15, 20 players in the league. We have the Celtics. Obviously, they're kind of in a rebuilding phase, but they do have Jason Tatum, Joe Mazzulla, great foundation. They have the Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham, probably Jalen Duren's going to come back. I think they're going to match whatever salary any team gives him. The Sixers are now on the rise. They just got Jaylen Brown. It's 5 teams you're competing with at the very least. So I think the Cavs' ceiling is making the finals. They just made the conference finals. I think they can absolutely get better and make the finals. But for long-term goals, this extension doesn't kick in this year. It kicks in next year. So Donovan Mitchell's age 34 season, he's going to be getting paid over $70 million. That's going to be second to Shea. There's going to be more players that are going to be getting paid more, I think, as time goes on. It could be wrong. I don't know if some of the younger guys are going to be getting paid a little less, but Donovan Mitchell will be the second highest paid player as of now in his age 34 season. In my opinion, that is not a recipe for success. Coming from the biggest Donovan Mitchell defender on TikTok, on Twitter, on any guy who hosts a podcast with a microphone, I love Donovan Mitchell. He should not be getting paid that much. He's earned it. He works his ass off. I think that he revived the Cavs as a franchise, the Jazz even. Best player since Malone, probably. I think he's much better than Deron Williams. So probably the best player since Malone and Stockton. So great player. He's not a ceiling. He's not a champion. I don't think he's a championship number 1 though. Especially, it could be. Let me roll back. Actually, I think he could be a championship number 1. You just need to have the right pieces around him. And by giving him that much money now, that makes it harder, and it definitely makes it harder in his age 34 season. So I don't know if the Cavs just like oversaw it and said, you know, we're just going to give him the money. He's earned it. We don't think we're going to win a championship anytime soon with or without him. So we might as well just give it to our star. Maybe that was their mindset. But if you're competing to win a championship, this is not a contract that you give. So I hope I'm proven wrong. Like I'm rooting for Donovan Mitchell. I think he's a great player. But excuse me. Anyway, yeah, we can move on to the next thing, which is going to be which is going to be the topic of Jaylen Brown. So you probably thought this was going to be what I led with, but I wanted to lead with the most recent news. But anyway, let me give you a little backstory as to where I was when I found it out. So I was actually doing a recording with the company Overtime, and they have a show called Lunchbox and we were debating some of the best comebacks of all time. And I really wish that some of you were able to see my. Actually, no, I take it back. I don't wish that you guys were able to see my reaction because I was actually very upset. And I had a Mets t-shirt on, so not a lot of people were there to comfort me or make fun of me. So I told some people that I was a Celtics fan, but like not really many. But it was pretty brutal. But it was like literally as the recording was going on, like one of the producers ran back, like showed the camera guy the trade. I took my phone out then, like even though like the camera was on me. I don't know if it was on me or not, but I was definitely visible to some cameras. I took my phone, I saw the trade, I was like, holy crap. So I saw Jaylen Brown, I saw Sixers. I thought, holy crap, traded the Sixers, and then I saw the names. I saw the name. I saw Paul George. I'm like, okay, so Paul George, what else? Paul George and draft picks. I paused. I said, what the hell? It's Jaylen Brown, a guy that's a top 10 to 15 player in the league. He's won a Finals MVP, an Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He just led your team to 56 wins. He's shown that he's a pluggable player. He's a pluggable player. You can put him in any system. The Celtic system is a great system, but however, he's been a focal point. He's been one of the only constants to being one of the best teams in the East for so long. I like doing breaking news on the show, so this isn't really league breaking, but I'm still gonna read the tweet. So the Detroit Pistons are trading Karis LeVert and 2 second-round picks to the Milwaukee Bucks for Taurean Prince and Gary Harris. The Pistons will create a trade exception from the deal and savings while the Bucks acquire LeVert and pick up assets. Now, LeVert, was he in another trade? I think he was on the Cavs. Let's see because he was definitely in a trade earlier this offseason. Let's check. No, okay, so I could be dead wrong, but I could have sworn I saw him in another trade earlier. But wait, so nothing here, but okay, so that's okay. But yeah, that was the breaking news. But like, yeah, I like reading out live tweets on the show. But anyway, back to Jaylen Brown. So in my head, I'm like, what the hell are the Celtics doing? We're blowing up the Celtics chat that I'm in with John, Matt, all 3 guests of the show. But I'm just in my head the entire time thinking this makes no sense whatsoever. This is Brad Stevens, known to be the first or second best GM in the league. What are we doing here? And I'm still kind of feeling that way because I'll lay out all the negatives up to begin with. So, the first one and the biggest one is the Sixers just came back from you just blew a 3-1 lead to the Sixers. You're a better team than the Sixers, but it just so happened that Joel Embiid got hot for a week, and there was no way to stop him. And then I shouldn't say there's no way to stop him because they found a way to stop him defensively, but they just didn't really make adjustments. That was an indictment on Joe Mazzulla there. But this was a team you blew a 3-1 lead to, and you just gave away the guy that was your best player in the regular season this year. What are we doing? That's the biggest. So that and the fact that it's not just a random team. It's not like it's the Pistons or the Pacers. They were another team that I forgot to bring up against the Cavs earlier. Or the Pacers that you blew a 3-1 lead to, like a regular team. No. The Sixers are a team that you've owned for a decade now with Tatum and Brown. A large reason why you've done so great against the Sixers is because of Tatum and Brown. Why did you just hand them Jaylen Brown for essentially nothing? In addition to that, I had three thoughts in mind. So, or one thought about like three different components. So, when a team makes a trade, you hope to be successful in at least one of these three things. You hope to be successful in all three, but here's what you're hoping. You're hoping that you either upgrade your roster. The Celtics most certainly did not upgrade their overall talent in the roster by acquiring Paul George for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's a significantly better player than Paul George. The other thing you want is to become more financially flexible. Not so much at the time, and in the immediate sense. Paul George is making a ton of money. So like very close to Jaylen Brown. So you didn't get that much more financially flexible, and you hope to get either if you don't get either of those two things, you hope to get a boatload of draft capital. They got 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. That does not sound like a lot, and it's not a lot. So in my mind, when the trade goes down, I'm like, all three of these things are debatable as to whether or not it helps the Celtics, or there's no debate. There's no debate that Jaylen Brown's a better player than Paul George. So all that said, my mind is racing. I'm panicking. I'm saying this is a horrible move. Everything there, and I still stand. I don't want to say, now I've caught. I don't want to say I've talked myself into the trade, because if I were to go back a week from today, I would if I could tell Brad Stevens don't make this move and he would listen to me, I would say don't make this move. I would have waited for a few more weeks to hopefully get either more pieces back or either mend any type of relationship, because I don't think that this. Not only do I think that this doesn't help the team ceiling, it helps the Sixers too much, in my opinion. I'll talk about the Sixers in a second, but I'll stick with the Celtics for now. Here's the thing: we listened to Brad Stevens and Bill Chisholm in their press conference yesterday, and I kind of came around to this a little more earlier. But let's break it down real quick, because let's talk about all three things that I talked about. First of all, the roster construction. As I mentioned, Jaylen Brown is a much better player than Paul George, and I'd rather have Jaylen Brown than Paul George currently on the Celtics. That being said, who is the head coach of the Celtics? Joe Mazzulla. His system of Mazzulla ball is mixed of a couple of things: 3-point shooting, limiting turnovers, rebounding a boatload. The Celtics did all those things last offseason. They drafted Ugo Gonzalez. They started to play Jordan Walsh and Baylor Scheinman more. Neemias Queta played a lot more too. And they just focused on rebounding a ton. And obviously, another main thing is not only just preventing teams from scoring a lot of points, they do that by forcing turnovers. A formula like that wins you a ton of regular season games. Paul George, let's be honest, does a better job, or not, I shouldn't say does a better job, fits Mazzulla ball better than Jaylen Brown. He's a significantly better 3-point shooter. He's a better catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He's a better rebounder than him. He doesn't really hold on to the ball much long. He's a much better off-ball player. Jaylen Brown's a significantly better volume scorer. Defense, I think, is a wash between the two of them. Maybe Jaylen's a little better at this point in his career, but I haven't really watched much film on Paul George in the past couple of years. Is Jaylen Brown the better player than Paul George? Yes, I just said that a million times. But does Paul George fit better with the Celtics? Maybe. I don't know. That's the thing that stops about this. Is like someone even asked Brad, does this trade make the Celtics better? We'll see. We will see. But this is me talking. This is probably me just talking myself into this. But I think there is absolutely a world where the Celtics look back in this and say, "Hey, maybe not the smartest move, but it's justifiable." Paul George made the All-Star game in 2024. He's injured a lot, so like that's another thing that I found negative about it, is that he's a very injury-prone player. He was also suspended for 25 games last year for performance-enhancing drugs. I don't know what. I know someone said it wasn't that big of a deal at all and should have been suspended, but Yeah. So so that's based on improving your roster. That's the vision that Brad Stevens looked at it as. Next one is financial flexibility. This is kind of like the next thing. The thing I'm going to say next is a mix of financial flexibility and roster construction. So again, my thought process at first was Paul George is barely making more money than less money than Jaylen Brown. Why is this a move? So Paul George waives his trade kicker, which is awesome. That's already great news. That's not that is no longer factored into this into the salary cap. Celtics are hard capped in the first apron, so so I'll talk about that in a second. But so they do have to save money, especially for this year. After that, after that, he also mentioned Brad Stevens also mentioned the fact that not only because I mentioned that I don't think that Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley in a couple of years could be a duo that fills up 70% of the team's cap space and win a championship. Brad Stevens emphasized we cannot have two guys with very high usage rates taking up 70% of the cap space. That seems to me like a very, 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 very subtle jab at Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, let's be honest, loves to have the ball in his hands. He turns the ball over a lot. That's another thing that brings the contrary thing. Paul George is less turnover prone than Jaylen Brown. If we're talking about players playing off each other and like teamwork, is that Brad Stevens justifying the way? So his way of thinking is that we're paying Jason Tatum and Paul George a lot of money this year, but if we allocate the basketball a little better, and maybe Tatum gets more touches. Everyone has probably seen the stat by now that like when Tatum gets more touches and has the higher usage rates, the team wins more. Paul George being off the ball, Derek White being off the ball. Payne Pritchard's is a point guard, so he kind of has the ball in his hands a lot. But like again, he's definitely someone that's going to be more willing to move off the ball than Jaylen Brown. That's the financial flexibility there that Brad Stevens talked about. Because another thing is that Jaylen Brown has 3 more, including this upcoming year. He has 3 more years left on his deal. Paul George has 2. Technically 1 plus 1, but he's going to opt into that deal, making $56 million for 2028, 2029. The next question is then, because of one more thing, Jaylen Brown is eligible for extension. I thought it was for a couple of weeks from now, but it's not until next offseason. So I think that'll be an interesting discussion next year. However, the next thing, as I mentioned, is the draft picks. The Celtics have 4 draft picks, 2 firsts, 2 seconds. One of them is a protected first. It's essentially what's probably going to be the Clippers pick in 2028. Have you seen the Clippers roster? Darius Garland, Brandon Ingram, Brook Lopez is their starting center now after trading Zubac last year. I think Wagner, is the new guy that just drafted. After that, it's not many good players. I like Chris Dunn a lot. I was hoping the Celtics would trade for him, but not many good players. Is this maybe your year where they have 2 all-star caliber players in Garland and Ingram? Are they going to try to boost up their trade value a little bit this year and then maybe trade for them in the offseason, get something back, and maybe make that a developing year? Probably not, actually, now that I think about it, because they don't really control their picks, so they're probably going to try to win as many games as possible. But what if that 2028 first-round pick turns into top 10 pick? Top 5 might be a little wishful thinking, but who knows? The Clippers. So Brad Stevens made this trade. He thinks that probably thinks that Paul George moves better off the ball, turns the ball over less, rebounds the ball better, shoots the ball better than Jaylen Brown, doesn't score as good as him as at a high level, and probably isn't willing to guard the other team's best player like Shea or Luka for as long a time as Jaylen Brown. And another big one is, unfortunately, so I keep on going back and forth between the positives and negatives. Tatum just ruptured his Achilles a year ago, came back as good as he was earlier. But the issue is, are you counting on Tatum to play 70-plus games? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to ask for. So Jaylen Brown was a good guy to have there. Can Paul George pick up the load? Not as good as Jaylen Brown. So again, that's all the reasons that I listed why I think the Celtics should have held on to Jaylen Brown. But Brad Stevens' mindset is Tim Brown can win another championship together. It's going to be a lot harder on these new rules. So that's the deal there. I probably give again, like this is one of those deals that's going to take a little bit to fully settle who won the deal. Everyone thinks the Sixers won now, justifiably so. They got the best player in the deal, and they didn't give up a ton of draft capital. But the other thing that I want to think about is now on the Sixers lens. I already talked about the Celtics lens. On the Sixers lens, their starting lineup now consists of Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, Dean Wade, and Joel Embiid. Their bench, Anthony Simons, and a whole lot of scraps. I don't even know who their backup center is. Maybe I'll check that right now. But the Sixers, that's one of the Sixers' weak points is the fact that they just don't have a lot to work with. That's probably like the first thing people were thinking about. The next thing, however, who do we think about? Oh, Adam Bonner, that guy, right? Maxey, VJ, Jaylen, Embiid, 4 guys who want to be the face of the franchise one day. Whose team is this? I think gun to your head, I think most people would probably say Joel Embiid. He's been the face of the Sixers since 2018. When he first joined them, it was Embiid and Simmons for a little bit, but like most people knew it was Embiid. Even when eventually they traded Simmons for Harden, it was still Embiid. And then when they not even traded, but like when Maxey got better, it was still Embiid. And then even the past couple of years, even now, I think most people would say, oh, it's Embiid's team. Even people are going to rank Jaylen Brown higher heading into the season. Joel Embiid's the face of the Sixers. Last year, who was the best player in the Sixers? It was Tyrese Maxey. He was a second or third team All-NBA. I don't know. I had him second personally. I thought he was one of the best. I thought that he was the best guard outside of Luka, Cade, and Shea. I thought that if Luka and Cade weren't eligible for first team for All-NBA teams, I actually would have personally voted Tyrese Maxey first team All-NBA. And beginning of the year, people were saying he was an MVP candidate. He was that great. And then in the playoffs, does awesome. Cooks Derek White. They get cooked by the Knicks after that, so like not much to say after that. But still, Tyrese Maxey is like, this is my team now. It's I'm the young buck. Embiid's always hurts. This is my team now. VJ Edgecombe just finished third in Rookie of the Year voting, saying, hey, maybe it's Maxey's probably our guy right now, our best player, but who says that I can't be the second best player? In comes Jaylen Brown. Listen, I know that we just lost 3-1. We blew it through and lead to you guys last year, but that wasn't my fault. I dropped 30-something points in Game 7, and everything there. I've won a championship before. I know how to win. Let this be my team. This is me hypothetically speaking. So who knows? All these guys could get along really well. They could have a really, really good foundational piece. But however, which of these guys is a great passer, like leading the offense? Maxey's the starting point guard, so he's probably going to have to do a lot of facilitating. He's going to have to do a little more facilitating than he did before. Because back when your starting lineup consisted of Andre Drummond was your starting center when Embiid was hurt. Edgecombe was just a rookie. I don't even know. Paul George was, again, like in the dog days of his career. Clearly never comfortable in Philly. Maxey was able to kind of run the show and saying, like, listen, I'm going to run the offense. I'm going to score a lot of points as well. Can he still run the offense and score a lot of points? Of course. That's what he's got to do. You have to do that if you're Tyrese Maxey in the Sixers. But you might have to give the ball up a little more. Again, VJ Edgecombe, in order for him not to hit the sophomore slump. Jaylen Brown, it's just joined a new team. You got to keep him happy too. And who knows how Embiid had his most healthy season probably since he had like the severe surgery in 2024. So we won MVP in 2023, and then after that it's been nothing but injuries. But however, this past year was his most healthy season out of the last 3. That's a good sign for the Sixers. But Embiid's not as good on defense as he used to be, but still, it's his team. Who is running the offense? It's going to have to be Maxey, but can Maxey take on the role of being a lead guard, not just the guard who scores the most points and brings up the ball? He has to actually facilitate the offense a little more. I don't know if that's a recipe for championship success. I think that Anthony Simons was a very underrated signing. I think that's going to be something that's he might be facilitating the offense a little more, but who knows what the deal is going to be there. Of course, the bigger question there is going to be, if LeBron joins the Sixers, which Sham said today that the Sixers are becoming more of a front runner, he's going to be leading the offense a lot more too. So, God, I hope that doesn't happen. But Sham said something today about LeBron. Let me check it real quick. But I'm not going to talk too much about LeBron. We talked about him a little bit last week, and there's really no updates here. But Sham's LeBron. I think that it was Philly, Cleveland, and Sham says LeBron James is taking Sixers free agency pitch very, very seriously. I look at it when I talk to teams right now. As of now, the hierarchy is Cleveland, Miami, and Philly. LeBron, let this be your riding off in the sunset moment. Do not go back. Do not go to Philly and have another city turn on you. You're beloved by Cleveland. You're beloved by Miami. I don't know how loved you are by LA. I think they liked you a little more after this year because you kind of carried the team to win a playoff series. Philly is brutal, man, and you might help them win a championship, but I don't know. I don't know who I'm rooting for. As a Celtics fan, I'd root for him to go out west to either Golden State or Denver or Minnesota. I think that'd be pretty cool. One of those two teams. It sounds like he's going to stay. He's going to go back to the East, though. This next year, the Celtics likely won't win a championship. So I don't know. Maybe a word for Cleveland to get Donovan Mitchell a ring, but Sixers are probably number 30 out of 30 teams that I'm rooting for him to join. I guess LA's 29 because he's not going back to LA, but say Philly 29, maybe the Knicks 28. Maybe you can flip the two of them. I think those are the two teams that I do not want him to join. So I don't think he's joining the Knicks, but it sounds like the Sixers are a real possibility, which, God, I hope not. Anyway, a couple more things to talk about. Oh, yeah, we'll go to the Lakers now because the Lakers lost LeBron, they lost Marcus Smart, and they lost Luke Kennard. And they just lost Rui Hachimura, I believe it was either this morning or yesterday morning. So that's four plus starters. I saw a tweet yesterday that said like the team won a playoff series and they lost literally every single one of their starters. So who was their fifth starter? I'm trying to think. Whoever their starting center was. I feel like so LeBron, Smart, Kennard. LeBron, Smart, Kennard. I don't know. Hachimura, and I guess whoever the starting center was probably DeAndre Ayton. Duh. So like those probably guys were the starting five. All of them are gone. That is crazy. Obviously, Luka and Reeves were both injured for a heavy portion of it, but both of them are back in the starting lineup, and they got a bunch of guys. They signed Colin Sexton. They signed I'm drawing a blank here. Jeez. Quentin Grimes, Sandro Mamu from Seton Hall, the Raptors, and they traded a boatload of picks. Two first-round, two unprotected picks, and two pick swaps for Walker Kessler. And they also just signed Kayvon Looney today. I think he's going to be the second. I think he's going to be the backup center. Is that a championship team? I think there's a world where Luka Doncic could carry this team to conference finals, maybe, depending on how healthy the Spurs or the Thunder are. Sure, he can bring them to the conference finals. But is this a championship team? No, it's not. The Lakers struggled the most on defense last year when Marcus Smart was not on the floor. You let Marcus Smart walk in free agency, and you do pick up Walker Kessler, which is awesome. He's kind of injury prone, though. When your two guards are very ball dominant and play no defense, Your team has a very limited ceiling. You did the great thing by trading for Walker Kessler, but you gave up a lot for him. When your other starters are Quentin Grimes and I saw a depth chart today that Jake Larivy, I hope he's not the second starter because the Lakers would they're just again, Luka Doncic I think is a top 5 player in the league. He can carry the team to do anything, but I do not think he can carry them to the promised land, especially against a very talented West. The Spurs and the Thunder, I think, are a tier above everyone else. I think they're worse than the Wolves. I think they're worse than the Nuggets. I mean, not so much worse than Nuggets with the roster is panning out, but it's tough to remain optimistic for sure. Kind of did a lot of yapping about the certain teams, but one couple more I want to talk about. So yeah, Pistons, one more. So Pistons signed John Collins. They got to do one more thing. Is anyone gonna give an offer sheet gonna offer anything to Jalen Duren for the Pistons to match? Who knows? Pistons are in a tough spot, but not so tough because I do think that any team is going to offer them. Maybe the Kings are going to offer them the max, and then that's when the Pistons are going to say, "Okay, listen, we underestimated you, but we're going to match this deal. You're going to stay with us, and we're going to win a lot of basketball games." So that's what I think is going to happen there. But other than that, I already talked about LeBron. Not much else for us to talk about. Tobias Harris joined the Spurs. Might be Tobias Harris and De'Aaron Fox were on both of my agendas. I root for them both a ton when they play, but don't like the Spurs a ton. And De'Aaron Fox just blew the finals for the Spurs, so I don't know what the deal is going to be there. But personally, got to run. But yeah, kind of an abrupt ending. But we're going to have more next week. Jake Eisenberg of the First to the Floor podcast will be joining us next week. Probably John and Matt as well. We're going to be doing a few more things, but yeah, this has been another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at All American Hooper on Instagram and TikTok, at American Hooper on Twitter. Be sure to check me out tomorrow night's Fluent vs. Chill vs. Everyone, the last episode of the offseason. And be sure to check out my column, sportsfluent.com. And yeah, that's our show. This has been another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. Until next time, keep grinding and stay hooping. Have a great night.